Announced yesterday. Funniest tweet. Janice, actually, did you see the tweet that went out with a picture of all of us standing on stage?
I saw that picture.
Looked like a beer glass with foam coming out of the top of my head. You gotta look at what's behind you when you allow these pictures to be taken. There were some really funny comments about my beer. It was like, cheese heads in Wisconsin, the beer foam head that I was wearing on stage yesterday. What do you got?
A couple of weeks ago, some folks came to talk about the historic preservation ordinance, the concerns with that. Is there any clarity on what the plan is with the design guidelines, and what do you perceive as the fix for those?
I think there's more than one issue. One is that I don't think the HHC board members are all fully conversant with what's in the ordinance and what their role is. So there has to be an education process. But I also think there are some places where the language can be clarified, because when it was originally passed, we had clear intent. And what always happens in the ordinances like this, everybody's working on it, knows what they mean, and then you go through a few iterations, new people come in, and you lose the original intent. And so we have to have some clarifying language. One of the things that happened, though, is that the planning director who carried the ordinance has moved on, and we have an acting director over there, so we have a little bit of a lag in the planning department, but we'll be picking that up soon.
The clarifying language, you mean like
We don't intend to go in and make any wholesale changes to the ordinance. It's more clarifying what the original intent was and specifying it in the language, so there'd be less ambiguity.
and the education process for the board members, rather than saying like, well, this board member is not interpreting it correctly, I should replace them.
We're trying to do ongoing. I appoint board members, and then the board members on the HAHC fill specific slots. It's not as open as some of our board appointments, and we just have to make sure that everybody has the same level of knowledge. They still bring their own ideas and biases and interests, but the goal is to make sure that that they're not misinterpreting it. If it's an issue of they disagree, that's something else. But we think it's more, we just need to bring everybody up to a baseline of knowledge and ordinance.
And last question on this, I'm just curious what your take on former Councilmember Lovell's new role in this process is. She helped get this passed, she's sort of on the other side of the fence in some ways.
There are a number of former council members who become lobbyists. It is a way of making a living, I guess.
Mayor, can we get you on the record about your thoughts about giving your city attorney the hefty pay raise?
I'm not paying him as much as he's worth, but I'm probably paying him way more than the aggravation he gives me. So, the salaries of my executive staff have been the subject of discussion for a long time. You get what you pay for. He took a significant reduction in income in order to come to work for the city. You have a choice when you hire a city attorney. Do you hire someone at the peak of their career with their skill set intact, or do you hire someone young and hungry and aggressive who doesn't know as much? And I chose to hire somebody at the peak of their career, and he gave me my 4 years, and he was ready to move on and go back to the private sector. But there's some important pieces of litigation coming up that I'd like to have his skill set for. And unfortunately, the way our revolving door ordinance works, he wouldn't be able to work on these legal issues that he initiated. He wouldn't be able to complete them in the private sector.
So you wouldn't be able to
He would not be able to
hire
work
out?
on them. He wouldn't be able to carry the work with him because of our revolving door ordinance. And I decided it was actually more cost effective to up his salary, keep him on the payroll, than to bring in a new team of of outside litigators and bring them up to speed.
And so has he promised you to stay with you through your term?
He's promised to stay with me until I get tired of him.
And speaking of that, can I ask you a legal question? Is there, I just got an email from I guess the firefighter pension folks who say that the lawsuit you filed against them last year, they're expecting some sort of result coming up. Do you have any?
Mr. Feldman, do you have it? I have not.
I mean, are you expecting that? And what? Obviously,
we're always eager when we bring a suit against someone. We're always eager for a resolution. I haven't heard anything. If you no.
You got big plans this weekend, Mayor?
I am traveling this weekend. I'm traveling next weekend, and I'm traveling the weekend after that. So I'm going to do my best to be in the council chamber as much as I can be, but I'm going to be gone a lot in the next few weeks.
Do you want to comment on perhaps what you're going to be up to this weekend?
No, I'm not gonna.
Or the speculation of?
There are a lot of, again, I'm going to be traveling extensively, both personally and for the city over the next few weeks.
Not getting married this weekend?
Mayor,
No announcements to make.
Councilmember Kubash mentioned in the pop-up session that his understanding at least was that you directed the city secretary to begin counting the signatures.
No,
Okay.
the city secretary has been counting the petitions since they were turned in.
Okay.
But I told her that she could not use overtime since there wasn't a timeliness issue. And I have had 2 recent conversations with the city secretary that, okay, I told you you couldn't use overtime, but I can provide you with, we have interns, we have folks come in and out of the office that could supplement our staff.
So there's
But there can't be, if the petitions prove valid, it still can't go to the ballot until 2015, which is why I wouldn't authorize overtime.
Gotcha. So they're not all counted. And then last week, city hired auditing services for the books. It was a joint partnership that included one firm that is being sued by a county agency for negligence and breach of fiduciary duty. It's McConnell Jones, Maynard Murphy. Was that a concern? Did that come up on the?
They're not actually being sued by the county, they're being sued by the county housing authority over the Guy Rankin scandal, and there's plenty of blame to go around in that, but that's county housing authority. It's not related to the city of Houston. They are a firm that has done work for the city of Houston extensively over the years, and we have found no problem with their work product.
3 bicyclists killed in 6 weeks. Is the city looking at doing anything more to protect bicyclists?
We think we've taken the appropriate steps to protect bicyclists by creating a safe passing ordinance, by training police officers in the application of the safe passing ordinance. But this is an issue of inattentive or impaired drivers and bicyclists who are on the roads late at night with insufficient lights. And I don't want to in any way blame the bicyclists, but this is something that is beyond just passing new ordinances. Everybody has to do a better job of protecting the public safety and making it safe for bike riders. It's always, we've had a very sad run of incidents with bicyclists, but we have an ongoing problem here with impaired drivers, both drivers under the influence, and one of the reasons that I've made it a mission to talk about texting while driving. Anything that distracts a driver from what's in front of them in the road is a problem, and we have an epidemic of that as well. So we do communicate regularly with the cycling community, and the idea of a safe passing distance came from the cycling community. If they have more ideas on things that we can do to help, I'm interested in hearing them. One of the things that we get asked for is more bike lanes, and you will see a few more bike lanes, but when you have an impaired driver, having a stripe down the road is not going to help them. And HPD is providing a statement on their efforts to date, so we can bring everybody up to speed on what's happening.
Are you concerned at all that movements like critical mass are going to worsen the problem, that drivers will be angered by cyclists on the road instead of cautious?
One of the problems we have to address is that drivers don't realize that bicycles have a right to the road. They have an equal right to the road if it's not like a freeway with the higher speeds. And we have to, if drivers act aggressively to bicyclists, we have to be willing to write tickets. Yes, I'm concerned that incidents or groups like critical mass, the vast majority of the riders in critical mass are people who just love to ride and want to get out and have a good time. But there are always knuckleheads in there who want to drink, want to act out, want to shout vulgarities to the drivers. And we're a big city, and we have to share the space with each other. Having a group of bicyclists go out one night a month and have a good time riding together, we ought to be able to figure out a way to accommodate that. I want to thank Critical Mass and some of those folks who help coordinate it. It's a leaderless group, but there are folks who try to help make people safe, for sitting down with the City of Houston and the police department over the last few months to work on routing, to work on ways to make it safe. The issue now, and I'm going to be taking this to Council Public Safety Committee, it costs police resources to make the ride safe. I think it's important to make the ride safe. We have to decide if we as a council believe that's the best or appropriate use of police resources involved. The more they work with us, the less it costs. And then by working with us, you can choose a route that has lots and lots of major intersections. You can choose a route that goes across a light rail line. Not smart. Or you can choose a route that is fun and interesting, but it's mostly on side streets and less traveled paths, and it's cheaper and easier to help coordinate, and has less impact on traffic. And so we have to find the right balance.
Okay.
The ordinance, are you aware of any tickets that have been written for that? The safe passage?
Boards would have those numbers, or HPD. Yeah, we have.
And you said we were going to get some statements from.
HPD has put out a statement in response to whether we need about their education.
All right.
Thank you.